You're listening to DraftKings Network.
Every fan knows the right player in the right position can be a game changer. Put LifeLock between your identity and identity thieves to monitor and alert you to threats you could miss. Plus, with a U.S.-based restoration specialist on your team, you won't have to face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or other losses from identity theft alone. All backed by the LifeLock $1 Million Protection Package. Change the game on identity theft. Save up to 25% your first year at LifeLock.com/aware.
Welcome to the Big Suey, presented by DraftKings.
Why are you listening to this show?
The podcast that seems very similar to the other Dan Le Batard podcast.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to apologize for that.
In fact, the only difference seems to be this imaging.
I have been tempted in restaurants just walking past tables to grab somebody's fries that if they're just there. That hasn't happened to you guys?
I've done it.
And now, here's the marching man to nowhere, fat face, and the habitual liar.
All right, let's talk Mac Jones. Everybody's terrified to compare him to Tom Brady. Folks, young Mac Jones looks like young Tom Brady. You need to just put your arms around it, because that's exactly what it looks like.
I'm not here to talk about the past.
Oh.
I'm here to talk about the present and the future, and his name is Mac Jones.
Mac Jones got written off. He is a Pro Bowl quarterback. He may be the best quarterback in the division.
He was threading the needle. He's throwing like lob passes. He's hitting guys in double coverage. It really felt like early 2000s Pats.
I love Mac Jones. I think he's a heck of a competitor. Gets the ball out on time, does the small things right. I think they are missing a few more pieces on the offensive side of the ball. Once they add those, valuable pieces around him, I think Mac Jones, he can be successful as any quarterback in this league.
If I had to draft a quarterback in the AFC East right now, the way Josh Allen, who I love, the way he's going, he doesn't protect the football. Aaron Rodgers is 102, is injury prone. Mac's a Pro Bowler.
If I'm the Jets, I own the Jets. If I don't land Aaron, I would absolutely call New England and say, we'll take Mac. Am I nuts?
The backup quarterback career of Mac Jones started this weekend.
Congratulations to him.
Yes.
I mean, greatest job in sports. He should embrace that thing, man.
That is right. Traded to Jacksonville for a late-round pick.
Also, Kenny Pickett's began this morning.
Wow.
Well, I'm not sure about that because of this. Because Russell Wilson is on a one-year prove-it deal, and the job might be Kenny Pickett's again in a year because
if he doesn't prove it,
if he does or he doesn't, because he's only there for 1 year and he's there cheap, at least in part because he's here to prove to everybody that he still deserves one of those big contracts.
No, he's only there cheap because Denver's paying his salary.
Right.
I know.
He's getting the big contract,
I know,
but you're right.
But he's there cheap for Pittsburgh,
Right.
and he's playing in Pittsburgh. And that part's smart on all parties involved. Like, to me, that is a no-lose proposition because can you be better than Mason Rudolph? And he's cheaper probably than Mason Rudolph.
I would say Russell has a lot to lose, also a lot to gain. This is a big moment and a big season coming up for Russell because he was in the Hall of Fame. He played his way out of the Hall of Fame in Denver, and now he has an opportunity to play his way back into the Hall of Fame with Mike Tomlin and the Steelers, or Dan, he could solidify that he'll never make it to Canton if he is the quarterback for Mike Tomlin's first losing season. I mean, it's a crossroads.
Well, if I know the Steelers, to go backtrack, it was, the Kenny Pickett backup thing was a joke because if I know the Steelers, they are going to have a quarterback competition, and maybe they will have carry more weight to Russell Wilson given his age and experience than Kenny Pickett given his lack of experience and injury history. But they will act like it's a competition, whether it really is or it isn't.
I don't think when he signed that he was told anything other than he's the number one.
Right.
I don't think he goes there without the job.
Agreed.
That's why they will say it's a competition.
They're just going to pretend.
If I know the Steelers, they're going to say it's a competition.
I think the biggest risk is he doesn't play. I think Pickens plays this year because I don't see Russell Wilson playing 17 games.
Pickens better play.
Pickens is going to play.
Pickett
is the. But I do think that they announced that he's not good enough. We all saw that last year. but I think almost everyone listening to this by consensus, and this is rare in sports, would just look at that overall deal and say, yep, good for everybody.
Yes.
Believe that that is a positive thing that can work out for everybody and make everyone a little bit better. But that's how unimpressive Pickett was as the starter on that team, never throwing the ball downfield, never using Pickens correctly because he's simply look, Russell Wilson could still throw the deep ball. Don't tell me he can't do that because he can do that. And we've all seen him do that. We haven't seen Kenny Pickett do it.
They also had a offensive coordinator who was fired midway through the season last year, and it coincided with Pickett getting his ankle fractured. So he didn't really even get to play under a non-Matt Canada offensive coordinator. So, and then, of course, when they got into the playoffs, they kept going with Rudolph because he was the hot hand.
And he played well.
And he did play well,
Yeah.
but they hired a new offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith, who's got a lot of experience running good offenses, even though might not have been the best head coach in Atlanta. So I think it's interesting.
You were very gentle there with Arthur. You were might not have been the best.
He wasn't. He wasn't a good head coach, but he was a good offensive coordinator before that. And I think it's a low risk. It's a low risk for the Steelers to sign Russell Wilson, have Denver cover the $38 million, however much it is.
There's only upside. Yeah, there's only upside.
Exactly. Pay the minimum.
We're doing a weird thing with Russell, though, where he had 26 touchdowns and 8 interceptions last year. 26 touchdowns is 2 less than Tua. I mean,
fewer.
He didn't have a bad year. And people think that he's washed up.
The people who are analyzing that sport most closely are telling you that those numbers are a bit of a mirage because those are the ones you keep pointing to,
Right.
and they're the only ones you keep pointing to.
That's all I got.
And if I give any starting quarterback in this league that kind of reps, that the way they play the sport now, you're going to come pretty close to getting that if I give you 16 or 17 games worth of reps. It's just you can't play in this league unless you're doing that at this point.
He had more touchdown passes last season, Russell Wilson did, than the Steelers have had over the last 2 years. As a team.
Yes, and you are correct that the Steeler offense have been bad, and most people are looking at some of what it is statistically that Russell Wilson has done and said, that's not that bad. But the people who are actually studying play-by-play stuff, the people who are scouting whether the DBs are doing the job.
Not just winging it.
They're not just, hey, I'm looking at these 2 numbers. The people who look at
I love to wing it,
slightly more than those 2 numbers are saying he was not anything other than mediocre last year. But something I wanted to ask David that sort of, I'm not going to say it's skated underneath the radar, but I don't know that it can be given enough attention given where we are and where the money is in sports. Rudy Gobert was just fined $100,000. It's a stiff fine for words said and actions that aren't violent or physical. And he made a money sign at a referee, and then after the game said that sports betting is influencing the results of games. I think it's the worst accusation a commissioner can hear in his office coming from a player. Like
no doubt.
verbal said. There are crimes that can be committed. But if you ask me, what if I'm a commissioner, what's at the top of my list of I'm going to punish this the hardest? It's what Rudy Gobert just did.
I feel so happy right now. I'm going to cry. I'm a little
$5.
I have it. You watched Nothing Personal this morning.
I did not.
Oh, so you don't know that Adam Silver is wired like in Saving Silverman when Jason Biggs went to dinner. And anytime there's competitive integrity that's on the line, anytime a player says anything about gambling or impugns the integrity of any referee, it buzzes, and he immediately fines the player. That's where we are with the gambling relationship. It's the number one issue the commissioners have. The amount of investigation done into the Rudy Gobert, it took 5 minutes. It happened, they announced the fine. And this is because it was gambling related. When there's fights, they look at video, they look at all angles, they'll wait 2 days when there's something going on off the court. But when it's gambling, it's immediate. And what Gobert did, you just can't have it. You can't have people thinking the referees are fixing games.
I can't believe he did it. No matter what his complaints are, I can't believe that he's making the next step. You get fined a certain amount for simply questioning the officiating. That you can do, you're going to get fined. But this is an extraordinary fine. This is an amount of money that's unusual, and it's because of the specifics of the accusation. He's saying that those refs in that game were impacted by gambling. You cannot say that.
That's the third rail. But also Rudy Gobert, this has happened to him before. So the other thing NBA said is, hey, we've had to fine him so many times for questioning the officials. That's another reason we're doing it.
You're surprised that Rudy Gobert did something stupid publicly? Rudy Gobert? Are we talking about the same guy?
But he can't say it if he indeed feels it. If he actually feels that way, he can't lend a voice to it?
No.
What?
Not without consequences.
I mean, okay,
you
so he
keep it
pays
to yourself.
Well, he's got a big fine he's got to pay.
There's also a way to express your dismay with the referees without money signs and
Accusing them of a
explicitly
crime?
saying it.
The
Like, that's
words,
a whole other
the words
thing.
is really what got him in trouble. Because the sign, you could kind of like, oh no, I was doing this,
Johnny
that, or
Manziel
whatever. You can
fan.
kind
I don't
yeah,
know,
you
man.
can.
This
Pointed
sign
at the
is
referee to
pretty
do it.
Obvious.
$100,000 though, the words is what buried him. I think when you're like, yeah, the game's fixed.
I thought it was his history is what
Well,
the
that's what you
amount
say.
was. but
Speaking
the
of which,
speed-
is it the 4-year anniversary yet of Rudy Gobert?
Yeah, it passed this weekend.
Oh man.
March 11th, I believe,
Yep.
4 years ago, is the day that Rudy Gobert he licked the microphone.
He touched
He
them
touched
all.
all of
the
them, and then the
microphones.
next
His
day
face,
we found out he had
yeah.
COVID.
And then he
Okay.
gave us all COVID.
You had him licking them.
I thought
Hey, he
licked
started
it.
the pandemic.
Stugotz.
David thought he was like tongue kissing all the media members. No, David.
No, the microphones, not the media.
I was
members.
just escalating your
Oh, okay.
incorrect comment.
Russ had more touchdown passes than Lamar Jackson. Won the MVP.
Steelers Super Bowl.
Will you
Let's deal.
will you defend everything?
We're going with let's smelt Billy.
Well, what do you mean?
A player
Yes.
has committed the act of accusing the referees of a crime
Right.
that impugn the integrity of the results because he is saying that gamblers are the reason that the Timberwolves lost because they have bribed officials. How are you shrugging your shoulders at that?
I'm not shrugging my shoulders. I'm saying if that's the way he feels, why not put a voice to it?
Okay, Stugotz, yes. Does he have
Then
freedom?
a $100,000 fine to him is like a $10 fine to me. It's like, all right, he'll eat the $100,000, but he wanted to put his voice on something that he clearly feels passionate about. I mean, and who's to say it's not? I'm just saying, like, that's been going on in the NBA for years, since David Stern, where people felt like these series were predetermined. I mean, it has. That conversation's been going on forever.
That's Jorge Sedano on local radio saying it, is not one of your employees saying it when you're the commissioner of the league. I just don't know. I honestly, I know that people are talking about you don't have the freedom to express your opinions these days, but as far as verbal sports crimes go, like I don't know what I'd put close to this.
You don't have the right to express that as a player in a league. You don't.
Well, you do, but you get fined for it.
Well, there's a consequence.
Right.
Was it a close game?
Yeah. It was. They were leading by one, and then they lost the game. Can you guys just look up for me? I'd like in the next segment to do a few
Verbal
precedents
sports crimes?
with fines. I want to know how many people have been fined $100,000 for something like this.
Hello, friends. It's Mike, and a lot has changed over the years. One thing that hasn't: great taste of Miller Lite. It was the original light beer, and to this day, it is still the best one. Miller Lite has more of the taste that you want and less of the stuff that you don't. I'm so grateful for Miller Lite because it supplements all my good times. It makes good times great times, whether it be football season, basketball season, or baseball season. In all likelihood, your team is not living up to expectations. A few good moments made better by Miller Lite, and the bad times are made less bad thanks to Miller Lite. Oh, I love you, Miller Lite. I love you because you keep it simple. Undebatable quality. Great taste. Only 96 calories. Times change, but you can always enjoy the great taste of Miller Lite. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/Dan, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. As Meadowlark Media continues to grow as a content studio and as a multimedia company, we strive to hire only the best and the most qualified candidates. Thankfully, with LinkedIn, they've made it easy for us to find them. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all of that while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of the small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/prep. That's linkedin.com/prep to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Don Batard.
I don't think in 2021 I can get away with my Michael Irvin radio show impression.
No, probably not. Stugotz. Pa, pa, pa. Pa, pa, pa.
Kev. That's okay. I think that's still okay. I think you can do that. Pa, 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 pa,
Kev.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Stugotz, the broadcaster and former safety, I believe he was a safety, Solomon Wilcots. Is his last name spelled Wilcox or Cots? How do you pronounce it? Do you pronounce it Wilcots or Wilcox?
Wilcots. I think it's Cotts.
I think it's one T, but I do think it's a T and not an X. The reason that I bring it up is only because of this. I was driving and I heard him on Sirius XM, and like a lot of people in the media, they disappear from the mainstream, and I don't notice that they've disappeared from the mainstream, and then they pop up somewhere, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. That person used to be at ESPN or Fox or whatever. And it got me to thinking about just how interchangeable all of the pieces in broadcasting are, except for like 5 of them. Almost all of them across broadcasting in the realm of what Solomon Wilcots does, right? Because as we speak right now, I love Ryan Clark's work. He works hard. He was interning at ESPN when he was still a Pittsburgh Steeler. And I don't know, as we talk right now, and I would think of Ryan Clark as one of the bigger stars that ESPN has, but he had a contract dispute with ESPN, and I, who am in the industry right now as we speak, don't know if Ryan Clark is or isn't at ESPN because he had the public contract dispute, and I think he might have actually gone back to ESPN after saying that his contract had lapsed at ESPN. But my overall point is, even if you're Ryan Clark, that all of the pieces except for just a few are almost entirely interchangeable.
His contract expired with ESPN, and he was very public about it. And then he got it on social media, and then he got a contract done with ESPN. ESPN thinks he's a big star, and he is a big star. He's great at what he does. Would I still watch ESPN as much as I do if Ryan Clark wasn't there? Probably.
But who is that not true of is what I'm asking you. And I'm not doing it for just ESPN. I'm doing it across the sports media landscape. Your analysts, your sports analysts, are they all interchangeable except for like a handful? Because I'm having a hard time thinking of anybody who can leave just about anywhere and actually do damage to a major mainstream platform more than is presently being done by the current crumbling of all media.
Well, remember, people get paid in a way that makes you feel that they can't be changed out. The way CBS paid Romo, the way they then got Buck and Aikman, and all of a sudden all of the play-by-play and analyst money went all the way up. But if you're asking that specific question, who's the handful you're thinking of? Because I can't think of one. Where
Dan Le Batard, Stugotz.
Thank you.
So I can't
Billy.
think of one where you would say, oh, I would
Chris?
not watch this game or I would not watch this network. Is there? You said there's a handful. Were you thinking Lebatard McAfee type, or were you thinking?
I'm thinking.
Romo
No,
Aikman?
I was thinking of what Stephen A. Smith is doing to Skip Bayless in the ratings. They started at the same salary. They both make $8 million a year. One of them is now having his career ended, while the other one's about to get the biggest contract in sports, because that's what he is, the biggest contract in sports broadcasting, because he's that valuable. It's the amount of money that he makes for ESPN.
But I love that show, and I love Stephen A. Smith. But if you took Stephen A. off the show, like, I don't watch the show that much.
All right, but
I'd still be consuming
Stugotz,
ESPN is my point.
Stugotz, Shannon Sharp is one of those people, obviously.
Right.
Like, he just ended one kind of show where they have someone making the $8 million, went to the other show where they have someone making $8 million, and the other show is now got 8 and 9 and 10 times the rating.
My point is, I could live without those guys. I love to watch them. I think they're great. They're a luxury. You take the games away, then I'm not watching ESPN.
Okay.
The games are what's important to me.
All right, so you can say that everyone in broadcasting is disposable and interchangeable, and I would not disagree with you. But if that's the case, then why pay anyone more than the minimum? If what you're saying is true, why pay anyone millions in broadcasting?
This is a terrible line to be going down. I don't like this at all.
Me either.
Let's stop this immediately.
Irreplaceable.
David, what are you doing? Stop him.
I tried to kick him under the table, but my legs are
Stop
slightly
this
too
immediately.
Short. I think what Dan needs to be doing is focusing on how important it is to have people who do move the marker. That is what every network is looking for. Who actually makes a difference? Who is a channel stopper, not a channel changer? And that is what you're doing. The reason why you have the show you have and you have the sponsorships you have is they feel as though the hours you provide cannot be provided by someone else at that same level. Do you know that's why you're here? I hope.
I would say this platform is a different kind of platform, though.
This is where I disagree with David. Like, yes, we're doing this thing on our own that allows us to have our own economy, but it's hurt ESPN not at all to not have us. There's no real damage there. They could let go of my salary without any damage being done to ESPN. It doesn't mean that they're not letting go of something that's valuable to me, but it's not valuable to them and doesn't have to be.
They could let go of Stephen A. Smith and they'd be fine. They could let go of Pat McAfee and they'd be fine.
You say they'd be fine, but First Take would be something less than fine.
But ESPN would be fine.
Okay,
it's his larger point.
But the show that he does that makes money, yes, of
would
course.
not be as good.
Would Disney be okay? Yes, Disney can withstand anyone.
Right.
And Disney can withstand any human being in any walk of life leaving without impacting the brand. He already did. They lost the rights to Steamboat Willie and nobody cared.
That's not Mickey, though.
Right.
I think I figured out the problem with your popcorn, Dan. It's stale.
Huh.
That's because you weren't here last night when it was fresh.
Maybe.
You and Stu, only two members of the shipping container not to be on the stained carpet.
Was the popcorn good?
I didn't eat it.
Really?
You can't taste anything, Stu.
I also, when
Allegedly.
you're talking, I don't know if Jessica shared with you, she was eating the popcorn, thought it was a little dry, and it got in the way of some analysis during the Oscars.
I would say, Dan, if I were to critique your famous popcorn recipe, it needs a little bit more moisture and more seasoning. Yeah. The seasoning was good, but I wanted more of it. I wanted it to rub off on my fingers like a Doritos Locos taco.
It's in the bottom of the popcorn bin is the problem.
Well, then we need to mix it better.
Be on top.
That's if there were more moisture, it would adhere to the popcorn kernels better.
You gotta do it right.
You just need more liquid so that...
He's saying user error. He's saying you didn't mix the popcorn well enough before doling it out.
I'm saying add a little liquid. And then it'll stick to the kernels better, and it won't all sink to the bottom. But it was delicious. I ate my entire box, Dan.
I think this is being
out of respect.
Yes.
I think this is being misrepresented around here in a way that's deeply unfair to me, and I'll get the honest truth tellers later in the week, as opposed to the lies being told now to embarrass me. Because if those things were not delicious, you ate an awful lot of it for it not to be delicious.
It was a 7-hour show. People were starving.
There was plenty of food. There was plenty of food out. There was plenty of food out there.
Jess, was there conversation like, "Hey, we need to eat Dan's popcorn. It's terrible, but we need to eat Dan's popcorn."
To be honest, it did. It unfolded quite organically, much like the popcorn itself. I assume when Lucy had her first bite and was like, "This is weird," and then I was like, "Lucy, say that on the microphone." You don't know the whole bit with the popcorn, but trust me, this is going to crush.
Do it on the mic.
She did say that it was weird, and I will tell you that she still has it on her breath this morning because she ate so much of it.
Stu, what you missed is that Dan was delivering the popcorn personally to people.
Right.
And when the boss brings you something, even if you don't like it, you take it.
I didn't bring her the other 2 boxes of it that she had.
No, but once you start, people understood how much it meant to you. I read all the texts you sent me before the show about
all
your
I
popcorn.
asked you was, how many people am I making popcorn for?
You asked
That's
me 3
it.
times, so I made up a number.
Everybody knew how important the popcorn was.
Right.
The popcorn is not important.
What you do in that situation, though, is you take a couple of bites, you tell Dan how great it is, you wait for Dan to leave, and then you toss it in the garbage. I mean,
I'm sure nothing drove David crazier than trying to get a head count for Sunday night.
No, I didn't try. Because
you just gave up immediately.
I just said to Mike Ryan, I said, "What's the number?" Mike texted me 25, and I didn't really give him context, so I just gave 25 to Dan so I could stop the back and forth on the popcorn.
You like the margaritas, too, because, good Lord, we got some drinkers. You guys polished off the margaritas. The margaritas got polished off so damn fast that I thought I brought enough for 20 people, and it was gone in 15 minutes. And Roy was drunk inside of 45 minutes.
You had the wrong ratio. It's more drink, less popcorn. You went more popcorn.
I think there was so much popcorn that people were thirsty to wash it down the kernels because even excellent popcorn. Not saying yours wasn't excellent, but even excellent moist popcorn kernels, they get stuck back here and in the molars, Dan. So you need to wash it down. You need to always have a beverage. So I think the tequila Jose Cuervo to popcorn ratio was just we needed more liquid.
This isn't bad. I don't know what the criticism is. It's fine.
No, it's good.
Yeah, it's fine.
Just needs to be more seasoning.
Rudy Gobert, getting back to the conversation that we were having earlier, Luka Doncic did the same thing with the money gesture and got fined $35,000. So it's 3 times as much for Gobert because he's a recidivist. Yes, he is a serial offender.
Yeah, that's where David was right on this. Is he's been fined multiple times before in regard to the refs. The last player in the NBA to be fined $100,000 was James Harden, but that was because he refused to play for the 76ers.
Of course.
So I've been scouring the internet, cannot find another player who's been fined that much for any criticism of the referee. The only person who's been fined, it's been Mark Cuban, who's just racked up $20 million in fines for criticizing the refs over the years.
He was fined $500,000 in 2022 and $500,000 in 2020 for criticizing the officials, and then he did that thing where he said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to match it and give it to charity, and then he turned it into a big win, which is crazy because I thought that went to charity anyways. But he's like, yeah, I'm going to give it to charity. And then he was also fined $600,000 in 2018 for saying, it's better for us to lose, which is also something that you're not supposed to be saying.
That's the integrity issue yet again.
You speak of the officiating, and I don't believe that Shaquille O'Neal at any point in his career could be officiated correctly, but Shaq has said that if he played today, Stugotz, he would average 60 points a game easily. He says he would average 60 points a game easily, and that he would be paid $300 million a year tax-free. So he would also...
Over the cap. He'd be the cap.
Tax-free. Let's hear Shaquille O'Neal dismissing one of Stugotz's heroes.
What people don't understand, I throw this word out because they need to understand, G14 classification. So if you were great like a Shaq and a Cam, we have G14 classification.
To say whatever you want.
Yes, because we've been there and we've done that on high levels since high school, college, and the pros. We've been there and done that. So when we say something, don't always take it personal. He knows how to be a pressured quarterback at the Super Bowl. He knows all that, so he's allowed to speak on that. But a lot of times when he speaks, people get sensitive. A lot of times when I speak, people get sensitive. But you need to understand G14 classification. Now, it's a lot of dudes who have no G14 classification, like Mad Dog. What the do you know about quarterback? What do you know about being a bit so? Shut the up, Mad Dog. Stick to the traditional media. When it comes to sports, you don't know what you're talking about. I do.
I hate that. I mean, I really do. First off, leave Doggy alone. He's a legend. He's a Hall of Famer. Shaq, we're not watching you split atoms. We're watching you play basketball. Like, that's what we're doing. It's easy for us to break it down. Just because we didn't play at the highest of levels doesn't mean we can't have an informed, good opinion about something we're watching on TV. I hate when athletes do that. I really do. Especially the Doggy, a legend in the game. I mean...
Stugotz, what's a Spain pick and roll?
What?
Starting is everything when it comes to fitness. Peloton helps you start no matter what level you're at. Wherever you're starting, there's thousands of classes to get you moving. Whether that's beginners or advanced rides, feel-good live DJ rides, or artist-themed rides, they've got something for you. Peloton bike instructors keep you motivated from day one. They'll show you the basics, help take the guesswork out of your workout, and encourage you to build from there. And now with Peloton Entertainment, you can keep moving and watch your favorite TV shows and live sports as you ride. Perfect for those days when you don't want to miss a thing. And if you don't have a bike, take a dance class, take a core class, take Pilates, take a stretching class, start a program with Andy, do a core program with Emma. You can do it all at Peloton. You can get a Peloton row, and you're not even going to get wet because it's inside your own house without water. How'd they do it? I don't know. Wherever you're starting, get moving with a Peloton bike or Bike Plus rental at onepeloton.com/bike rentals. Terms apply.
Don Le Batard.
Punctuate this segment with what is your strike three call.
Well, strike one would be strike, and then you stand up and you give a good point to the right.
Stugotz.
That's same for strike two. But strike three, you get down low, you got your hands behind the catcher. All right, the right arm goes up into the air. Yeah, and then you finish it with the punch. The right arm flings way up into the air. Yeah, yeah.
I wish I could see that. It's terrible. Audio's great.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Just overheard Samson and Stugotz talk about their sudden fear of flying. Samson is bolting here in a little bit because he's got to get back to New York. He has been carrying the entirety of the network here for about 36 hours, and so he's headed back. What is the nature of your fear? Because I heard you both talking, and we might as well talk about it on air because I wanted to show you guys and the audience a video from over the weekend.
David is flying today, and... You know, I flew last night, and I flew United. And I asked David if you're flying United. He said no, he's an American guy. He's flying American Airlines. I fly United now, Dan. It feels, well, flying in general feels like a crapshoot, but United really feels like a coin toss, man.
It's the safest way to travel, Stugotz, so I don't know how you define crapshoot.
I mean, planes are making emergency landings left and right. Doors are falling off. Wheels are falling off. Things are falling off planes. I mean...
But they're all landing safely, so it's... I mean, look, one wheel fell off, but there's still... 6 other wheels there on that one, leg. That's fine.
It's a different story if that wheel doesn't fall into a parking lot.
Well,
without cars, that wheel falls on a person.
Look at these cars.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with my fear of flying. That's my fear of just being a human walking around.
I just don't know how you approve a plane for takeoff when a door comes off mid-flight or a wheel falls off mid-flight.
Well, they weren't expecting that to happen.
That's the problem, Stugotz.
Expect it.
That is the problem. Like, there's been a lot of criticism about the cost-cutting measures that the airlines have put in place and that the airline manufacturers have put in place, and that is why people feel unsafe right now because, while there hasn't been a huge commercial airline crash in the United States in decades, knock on wood. Hopefully that never happens again. There's incidents happening every day, and because we have video of all of them, they're going viral, and especially the incident on Alaska Air where the door fell off mid-flight.
That was not ideal.
People's phones and clothes got sucked through into the night sky. People are freaked out, and they should be. We should demand better of people that are in charge of our safety.
I would like to see if you'll do a poll for me. And I'm not captaining the ship today, but I do have a poll. Would you rather own a stock that goes up, or would you rather have a plane that works?
Wow.
And
it's a good question.
I asked that
is a good
seriously
question,
because
yes.
what we're
The
talking
people
about
that own the
is Boeing.
stock would probably answer different than people that don't, which is scary.
What Jessica was referring to is Boeing. And Boeing's having a real problem.
Last week tonight did a comprehensive report, as they often do, on just Boeing and all of their cost cutting and the partnership that they got into that made Boeing go from the safest and most respected of all the airlines to something that has been contaminated and corrupted by the need for profit.
By the need for stock price. It doesn't have to be profit. You can have a good stock price. There's a ton of great stocks where the companies have never made $1, which is very bizarre. So it's not even that. It's that they needed their price to increase their stock price. There was a ton of pressure from that partnership. And so the issue is that Boeing doesn't have the number of inspectors they used to have. There's not the duplication of jobs that used to exist. So they'll get rid of layers to save money. Still, you'd expect the door to be bolted. I mean, there's like a bottom line of stuff.
Well, you'd also expect for giant wheels not to fall out of the sky in a way that could kill anybody that was below.
No, that's exactly right. I have been privately following this Boeing situation since the two really tragic crashes in 2017 and 2018, I believe, the Ethiopian Airlines flight and the Indonesian airline, I think, was the
737 Maxes.
The 737 Maxes, which had some sort of software update. I'm not technically savvy enough to describe to you what it was, but horrible incidents and just absolutely reading about what happened to these people and how their families have been trying to get justice for them. It is horrifying and terrifying. And Boeing has largely gotten away with it and has now relaunched these Boeing Maxes. They fixed the software issue, but now the Max 9, which is the flight that the Alaskan Airlines flight that had the fuselage door that came loose, is the center of attention. They grounded all of those flights or all of those aircraft for months while they inspected all of them. And it's like, when is there going to be some sort of address that happens to Boeing where it's like, you guys are lucky something worse hasn't happened. You're lucky there wasn't someone sitting in the seat
happen.
next
just
to
didn't
the
happen
flight.
in America.
Exactly right. And that is 100% why it's terrifying, why it's scary to anyone who's paying attention, because it was largely able to be swept under the rug here. And I don't know, I didn't watch the John Oliver clip yet, but it's
30 minutes he dedicated to just this, and it's all horrifying.
And there's so much entanglement between the companies and the government regulators that I think really should frighten people, because it's like, who's in charge here? How do we find some sort of safeguard for passengers when everyone knows each other in this industry and they're looking out for each other?
They changed the marketing. So it used to be that people were scared after these crashes they wouldn't fly on the Maxes. So Boeing, instead of actually hiring people to have it not happen, instead they changed the name of the plane. So you don't often see anymore. It's now the 737-900, the 737-800, the 737-700. They
out
do
of
it.
sight, out of mind.
Out of sight. Listen, who wants to think about it?
But I'm more inclined to walk on that plane, though.
When there are tires falling out of the sky, I want somebody to have thought about it.
But you changed the name. That's a heady play.
Yes, on Stugotz Clownface Airlines, it's a heady play. Not if I'm risking my life.
It's still way safer to fly than it is to take 95 in Miami.
This is just like when I was in college at UCF and there was a string of armed robberies in a stairwell at one of the apartment complexes, and instead of actually hiring new security, they just changed the name of the apartment complex before the new freshmen came in.
David, that's a great point about I-95, though, because automobiles are very dangerous, and driving in the United States is extremely exponentially more dangerous than flying. But the automobile industry is not something that we've regulated the same way as the airline industry. You're seeing cars that can go 200 miles an hour. Just anyone can have a car that goes faster than is legal to drive in this country. There's no limitations on manufacturing cars that can kill people, or cars that are super heavy that can crush smaller cars. And so it's interesting when people say that, because it's like, yeah, well, driving is something we've accepted as a necessity to get around in the United States, but it is extremely dangerous, and we just treat it like it's okay, but I don't think that's okay either. That's it's terrifying.
I hate
driving on 95.
Welcome to Miami. It's terrifying, but I think
one of the reasons why I hate living here. I hate driving here.
She's the second person who just said this from your group. I think we may have them around. Lucy doesn't like it here.
A lot of people who moved to Miami don't like it here.
How are we addressing that as a company?
I'm not fixing Miami.
Is there any way you can fix anything?
Billy Corbin's fixing Miami.
Can you let them relocate to the New York studio?
No, we got enough people working abroad. We need some of them
David's
to work
onto
here.
something.
I want
Just for the summers.
I want to play for both of you guys a couple of
Snowbirding
things
it.
that
On
I have not seen a lot of before in sports, and so I ask you which of these two is rarer. But before I do that, can you look up for me something that someone told me this weekend that I did not verify, that I can't believe is so, but somebody was insisting it's so, that Jay-Z and Beyonce have a car that is so expensive and of a certain weight that it is a tax deduction. All of it is a tax deduction completely because of the weight of it. And so because I haven't verified and because of what you guys were talking about.
I think a lot of people do that with like Navigators. Like you can write off company cars because of the weight of the car.
So if you could look that up for me, I'd
How does that
appreciate
work,
it. We're about to
David?
find out by looking
I didn't know there was
it
a
up.
correlation to weight. If they use it for business, you can deduct it.
But combined with the weight of the car, it's also evidently very expensive.
Do you think Karl Malone could deduct his 18-wheeler? Is that the theory?
I don't know, David. That's
My
why
accountant
I'm
can write
asking.
off anything.
Yeah.
Got a guy.
I would be careful about how loudly you say that.
It's a joke. Come on, IRS.
Tax season, Dano.
It's literally the worst time to say that. And between March 1st and April 15th,
Yeah.
you don't make any public IRS
Do
jokes.
it on the 16th?
Every, yes.
You've stirred somebody who had slowly fallen
Right.
asleep at his desk. He's just
Let me
he's
look at Stugotz.
He's collecting government checks. He's bored. He hates his job, and we get him through 3.5 hours of the day.
If your car weighs over 6,000 pounds and is mainly used for business, you can get a partial deduction and bonus for depreciation.
Wow.
So what qualifies as using it for business then? I guess they can
Yeah, I
say
mean,
since they're
shooting a music
getting
video?
driven around in
Any
it, that
asset you can
counts?
depreciate, so I don't know what that has to do with it. I don't understand that part
The
of the
tax
definition.
code is crazy. Am
It's
I right?
horrible.
Let me play for you guys two things that I have not seen before.
right?
So confusing.
One of them is the Utah State women's basketball coach, Kayla Ard. This is the last press conference of her season. I've never seen this before.
And how do you plan to rebuild for next season?
I'm not going to be rebuilding. I just coached my last game at Utah State. I spoke with Diana, and they're going in a different direction, and I respect her decision, and I hope they get a really good coach in. I'm assuming that's going to be the last question. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All. Thank you, Coach.
That is not ideal PR.
Awkward.
That is the punctuation on her career. So you tell me which is odder, that or, and I don't have video here for this, but Lance Lynn, and of course this happened with the blight on our people, Billy Angel Hernandez, who ejected Lance Lynn from a spring training game, and then Lance Lynn went to the bullpen to keep throwing. And he ejected him from the bullpen as well.
That's baseball. I mean,
he went and he ejected Lance Lynn twice.
That's on Lance.
That's on Angel. Although where Lance was, he's on the Cardinals. At Roger Dean, did this happen?
Yeah.
He could have gone to the backfield.
There's plenty of field that
Yeah.
he can throw.
That was a little FU to Angel.
But come on. What are we doing? What are we doing? It's spring training. This reminds me the other day, I don't know, we didn't talk about it, but Thomas Bryant of the Heat, because he won the championship with the Nuggets, but was suspended, they let him go back into the arena in Denver to get his ring, but then immediately after the ceremony, they told him he had to leave the building. He couldn't even
stay for the game.
Those are the rules, Dan.
Couldn't even get nostalgic with his championship teammates. He immediately had to leave. It's like, come on.
Poor TB. He was so upset. You could see it on his face. He's getting his championship ring, and he knows, I'm going to have to walk out of here.
What are we doing?
It was awful.
What are we doing? It's hard to win a championship.
At least they let him get his ring, right? Like that's when he was suspended.
They
They
opened the
said
window.
no.
They opened the window for him.
You can't stop the ring. The ring's the thing.
I mean, Lance Lynn
Sorrow
is
man.
throwing a bullpen.
Hello, friends. It's Mike, and a lot has changed over the years. One thing that hasn't, great taste of Miller Lite. It was the original light beer, and to this day, it is still the best one. Miller Lite has more of the taste that you want and less of the stuff that you don't. I'm so grateful for Miller Lite because it supplements all my good times. It makes good times great times, whether it be football season, basketball season, or baseball season. In all likelihood, your team is not living up to expectations. A few good moments made better by Miller Lite, and the bad times are made less bad thanks to Miller Lite. Oh, I love you, Miller Lite. I love you because you keep it simple. Undebatable quality. Great taste. Only 96 calories. Times change, but you can always enjoy the great taste of Miller Lite. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/Dan, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces.
Everybody in your crew identifies as either Big Mac Burger, McNuggets, or McCrispy Sandwich. But you're the Filet-O-Fish Sandwich all day. That crispy fish, that savory tartar sauce, that melty cheese, that pillowy bun. Yeah, you get it. Every time.
And if you love the Filet-O-Fish, right now you can catch 2 of the classics you love for just $6. Limited time only. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer. Single item at regular price.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin. Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code CAR for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code CAR for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code CAR.